Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 21st of July, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. We're seeing quite a lot of green on the screen this morning, so markets got off to a pretty poor start for the week, but we actually are in recovery mode this last 24 hours. So first of all, the dollar is just edging higher all the time. This is the daily chart. This is my weekly, daily and 60-minute chart, long-term, medium-term and short-term view of the market with the corresponding point and figure targets. We've got short-term upside targets, some 2% higher for the dollar index, and it looks like we are going to make this higher than the high we saw back in April, and the low that we saw in June was higher than the low that we saw back in January. So that's a significant turnaround for the dollar potentially. Medium term bullish. If we're above the cloud, we're bullish. If we're below, we're bearish. Long term, we're still bearish below the cloud though, and there is a really big range that we need to break between 90 and 102. So on the dollar index. So for the moment, we're just trading up towards the middle of that range and may well get to the top of that range. But it's too early to say that this is a long term play for the dollar, but certainly looking better. The euro is therefore looking weaker against that stronger dollar, seeing it sinking away here, and we're waiting for the lower low here. We had the lower high, we're now waiting for the lower low. That's the Dow theory. Against the yen, the dollar is looking quite strong at 110 again, so that's looking good. And sterling falling against that stronger dollar, falling away quite significantly there as well. Looking at sterling against the euro, we're holding around the 116 level, but we have seen a deterioration this week, and we are just starting to move to short-term, some medium-term bearish. We really like to see a few candles below there before we'd call that, but the reality is sterling is now weakening. Looking at Bitcoin, we did touch below the $30,000 mark yesterday, and that has deactivated this very big upside target. So that is a bit worrying for cryptocurrency play, and we are just seeing we're recovering back above that 30,000 level, but we did deactivate that target, so that's significant. The S&P 500 index recovered quite sharply yesterday, up 1.5%, so that's looking good for recovery. But the reality is we're just now touching the cloud from below, so on the short-term basis we're still bearish. We need to see a new high above that 4,400 level. The Nasdaq similarly recovered yesterday, but again is touching the cloud from below, so that's quite significant as well. The futures are mixed today. The S&P future up 0.1%. The Nasdaq E-mini is down just very, very slightly. So markets look set to open flat today until we get more visibility on the futures. It's a hard call. The VIX volatility is sitting at just below 20. It did rocket early in the week to 25. Fear index, the highest it's been for a couple of months, short-term bullish, but on the whole, the fear index is falling, so markets have taken this move in their stride. FTSE future is up just under 1%. The DAX in Germany, the cash market, is quite flat, just up 0.1%. The CAC 40 actually up 0.7%. So we are seeing European markets on the whole recovering. Japan was up 0.7%. The Hang Seng was down 1/3%. The Shanghai Composite actually has performed pretty well through this week and is bullish on all three time frames still, with good upside targets there. And looking at the Sensex in India, we're down 0.5%, but we do still have these very big upside targets, have been just going sideways for the last several weeks. The Aussie market holding that 7,300 level, but again very flat for the last several weeks. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute, but looking at soft commodities, we've got wheat up 0.6%, so that's looking strong as it bounced this last week. So we're moving back to bullish territory with lots of upside targets there. Looking at gold, we're at 1806, just still short-term bearish, but finding support on the cloud on the medium-term chart. So gold's still looking okay for a rise. If we can make a new high above the high that we saw back in June, then that would give us a target of $2,400 for gold. So that will be significant. And silver, if we break the $30 level, we really expect to run then. Platinum is fairly flat this morning, and palladium up just under 1%, so recovering here. Some big falls earlier in the week as well. US 10-year yield sitting at 1.23%. So bearing in mind that yields have been as high as 1.7%, that's a really big move back there. But interestingly, we're still long-term bullish in that transition. The medium-term chart is now bearish below the cloud, and we do have some downside targets. But for the moment, we remain bullish there. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we've got Brent crude. We were bearish this week on Brent. It really all happened on Monday. Yesterday we're fairly flat. The same again today. We do have on the. This is my daily and my 60-minute chart. Daily, 60-minute, and 1 minute. So this is a very short-term chart. So we're seeing here that we've got targets some 4 to 5% lower still, and some resistance. So we still remain bearish on the short-term chart. And interestingly, we're probably just finding support right there on the cloud with that low that we saw. Looking at US nat gas, we were actually bullish this week for US nat gas, and that's exactly what's happened. So that's looking pretty strong. Looking at emissions, we're actually neutral on emissions because we are in this real range at the moment. We are still bearish below the cloud. Upside targets dominate the longer term chart. We do have a downside target, and on the 60-minute chart we have some downside. The 1 minute less clear, so it's a hard call for emissions today. MBP is up 0.6% this morning. Again, we were bullish this week for MBP, looking like we've broken that level there. That's quite significant, and so that's really what we're looking at here, is that just that break on the chart, and so that's looking pretty strong. TTF also breaking, so we remain bullish there as well, and on the winter contract also looking good. Keep an eye on your OTC data on these targets, very key. Power markets generally, we were neutral this week. Again, just a hard call. We've got some downside targets there just dominating the short-term picture, so for the moment we're just seeing power subdued. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.